Hey, what's up? I'm Pascal from Orangepixel and welcome to another video. And this is one of these rambling, unscripted, possibly unedited videos because I know you like them, I like them, and it saves me a bit of time. Also, normally I record these videos on Monday, but this next Monday, or for you last Monday, was a national holiday, and I had to record it on Friday because I don't even know what I'm going to do on Monday, but probably not be in the office. However, I usually come up with actual topics in the weekend, so there's no real topic, but I think I have something to talk about, and I probably already created a unscripted, unedited. I already created a title for this video, probably something like how indie game development has changed over the many years. So let's talk about that after the intro. So when I started Orangepixel back in 2004, 20 years ago, indie game developer wasn't really a thing. The term indie slowly became something people used to pretty much identify themselves as just a game developer, hobbyist person who was trying to sell games, I guess. A bit vague, but they were coming up with interesting little titles and releasing them through their own website, because Steam wasn't a thing, or at least not for game developers like that at that size, or distribution sites for flash games or mobile games before smartphones. It was just a very different scene. And then when the first bigger titles, I think World of Goo was the first one maybe around that time, and Meat Boy, these were indie games. They were the hobbyist people creating a game, but they were interesting enough to suddenly make it onto consoles and onto Steam and bigger platforms where usually you only see the AAA titles. And so suddenly indie game developer became this interesting thing, a marketing term, and then used by bigger and bigger companies to pretty much sell their unique, interesting indie game title. A very weird thing. And now the last couple of weeks I've been promoting my game Gauntlet of Power, which is about to release in June. Check it out, description below. Check out the channel for more information on the game. And I noticed a couple of things, interesting things, how indie has changed over the last couple of decades, because it now feels like there's different layers, and there's more than just AAA and indie. There's a lot of stuff in between. We now have indie games that are at a pretty high quality, like a very high barrier, and it's not a hobbyist anymore. It's usually teams of 10 or even 30 people creating indie games. And of course, the term indie has been so vague that some people will give their own name or their own description to it and will tell you, well, if you have a team and if you work with a publisher, you're not indie and you are not indie, or this is only if you are doing this, then it's indie. Independent means that the creators themselves are creating the game and are independently making decisions of what goes in that game and how it plays and how it looks and how it ends up. And that is pretty much an independent game. Independent from finance and suited people that are telling you what to do. So you could easily go with a publisher. You can easily have a big team. You can easily have a lot of funding. It doesn't really matter. It just became a marketing term. What does matter is that I'm an indie game developer. I'm just one guy. I'm very small. I'm very tiny. This is the whole Orangepixel you see right here in front of you, in front of this camera. This is Orangepixel, including the fish. We have a couple of cats downstairs as well. I should show them in one of these videos again soon, but that's pretty much all there is. And my game is up against everything that's a lot bigger. And that's what I started noticing when doing my press rounds, when contacting streamers, contacting press, sending out press releases. It's a lot of work. But you also notice that a lot of people will be ignoring you completely. That in part, I think, has to do with just the quality of games. Of course, there are the $1 million creations, the AAA companies doing these huge things. we can all identify that being very different from my kind of games that I create as one person with never seen any millions in my life. But there's so much in between now that at some point there is just a shift of what's interesting. We have AAA, then we have yeah, I'm not even sure how to call it, but just the bigger indie titles that are still pretty fair budget, like 250,000, 500,000, maybe up to 1 million. They can still be indie games with a bigger team, much more resource and assets. And then you have my low resolution pixel art graphics, very tiny package of a game that's full of gameplay and a lot of replay value, but it's very different on a very different low end spectrum of everything that's games. It's not as low as maybe a hobbyist for first title. I mean, that's another ballpark, but you can see a difference there. My games, at least I hope you can see the difference, that my games are above that. I think they are, but I also know from myself that I'm not at a certain level that a lot of other teams are, but I'm still trying to compete with the same audience. I'm still trying to compete with the same space on a platform like Steam or on the Nintendo Switch eShop. And it's very hard getting your game noticed and picked up and showing up in between all that. I think that's the biggest change that has happened in the last maybe a decade, but I think 2 decades it started already, where even on mobile smartphones, Android, iOS, we've seen games grow from tiny productions like the games I'm making to still indie games, but they have free to play and they keep pushing content every week or every month. There's new content, a lot of in-app payments. These companies are making millions and spending millions on marketing, and they are also up against the tiny hobbyist game developer at home who created a awesome kick-ass game. And I'm not talking about me, just somebody who created a kick-ass mobile game, trying to sell it as a premium because free-to-play is not gonna work as a solo developer. There's so much going on. You could give it away for free with advertising, but the advertising branch or market is, I mean, right now they're not paying a lot for advertising, so you're not gonna make a lot of money, but you're even then up against $1 million companies that are also independently creating games. And it's hard. And that's pretty much what I came to the conclusion. All right, sorry there are some edits because I shouldn't do unedited videos when I'm having a little cold, and trust me, some things have to be cut out of this video. Anyway, where was I? Yeah, there's just a lot of variation, a lot of stuff, and you're competing all in the same pool. There used to be all these little pools for smaller games, but right now everything is just, you're either on Steam, you're on the App Store, you're on the Switch eShop, your eStore, whatever Nintendo calls it. Everybody is in that same pool, and you're just a tiny fish amongst sharks. I did come to the conclusion that I know where I'm at as a game developer, and I know the type of games I make, and that they're not $1 million selling titles, not even 100,000 copies selling titles. Well, sometimes, but that will take a couple of years. I know where I am, but it's also that difficulty that my games also have to increase and become better and better than my last title. For some weird reason, you want to create something better than your last title. So they have grown and gotten bigger and bigger, and that's a very difficult thing, and I have to somehow break that chain of making bigger and bigger games because I have to make them faster. Gaunt of Power was the perfect development cycle, but I also know the money that's coming in is gonna be tight. I'm pretty sure the game is gonna do well and is gonna be profitable for that game, but if it's gonna be profitable for me as a company, there are some worries there, to be honest. And that's what I've been doing the last couple of weeks, just all this promotion and pushing everything. I'm literally everything in the book and everything that's not in the book, I'm doing that. I've been around the block for a few times. This isn't my first or 10th or even 20th game. I've done a lot more releases. I sent out press releases to various services that then send it out to a lot of websites, contacting a bunch of streamers, like a lot of streamers, contacting press, collecting email addresses to send them even after that, and then I'm going to do another trailer. I've been doing everything, and I'm just hoping it will be enough by the time the game releases in June. We'll see, honestly, and I will, of course, talk about it on the channel. But it's been interesting to see just the difference right now, and also the budget for a game. Even at my lower end of the game development area or the game release area, even at this point, there is so much difference and changes in terms of what you need or what is expected in a budget-like thing. For example, I'm Dutch, which you probably figured out by how I create these weird sentences every now and then in English. But my games are in English, but people expect French, Spanish, Italian, German, Russian, Polish, Chinese, Japanese. Pretty much expected because so many other indie game developers are doing that, and they have the backing or the funding of a publisher, or their previous game was a hit game, so now they have that money to spend on a translation company. But trust me, it's expensive. I have been contacted by various of these companies, and they will look at Orangepixel on the website, and on that it looks like I'm a huge company. I have so much content on there, posts every week. I have all these games on there, but I'm still one guy. And then if I talk or ask about the budget, sometimes I don't get any replies. Even though they contacted me, they reached out to me, I don't get any replies anymore. But I know it's always a budget that I simply don't have for my games, especially not for translation. The worry, of course, also that if I'm paying a company like that, is it a good company, or am I just paying for Google Translate? I fear there's a lot of those things going on. So what I did for Gaunt of Power is just cut out the middleman, and I went with Google Translate just to have something there translated. It's getting a lot better every month, every year. So I'm hoping it's fairly good. At least the store page is translated, the in-game text is translated, and I have no idea if it's good at all. But if I let a translation company do it, even though, and when I don't really know if they are good, I have no idea to check it. I have no idea to test what I paid for is actually good. So it's all very difficult, and I could go with just English, but then of course all the PR and marketing people and everybody you talk to and has experience on these things will tell you translations are important. They will grab more players from different countries. It's very important you do it. So you do it, and it's all these little things. And then of course trailer creation. I can do a lot of these things myself, but at some point it's also a lot of time that goes into a game and all the polish you need. You can't just have a game play. You need tutorials, instructions, manuals. You need everything. You need this fuller package than we used to be creating back in the day, I guess. And even at the lowest quality of commercial games, you still need to add so much more that we didn't have to add 20 years ago when we were indie. These days, if you're an independent game developer, you have to somehow follow suit and follow what all these other games are doing with the backing of publishers and other funding companies. You somehow have to level up your game, literally. And yeah, it's just an observation, I guess. That's what this whole video is about. It's just an observation, and I'm not even sure where I'm going with this. I think I'm just ending the observation here. Yeah, I'll shut up now. This was a weird video, I know. We'll get back to normal videos next week. I just had a lot of stuff to ramble about. I had a bad night's sleep, so that might probably also cause my rambling. If you watched it up to this end, thanks. You're probably one of the few. Don't forget to like, subscribe, and comment below, or maybe just not comment at all. I'm fine with that right now. And I'll see you next week. Yeah, I think that's best. I'll see you next week. Bye.